Land Use and Management Committee. I'm Councilmember Jose Huizar, Vice Chair of the committee, and today I am the only member here. We have a few items on our agenda that we think we would get through fairly quickly. So with that, let's go through the agenda at this time.
Councilmember Huizar, just before, as Vice Chair of the Plum Committee, I want to make you aware that we have a request for continuance for item numbers, I believe, number 2 and 3. The request for the continuance is until next Tuesday, July 15th, in Planning Committee and Council July 23rd.
Okay. We will do that. And we have speaker cards.
Sorry, Councilman. Let me make that correction. It's item number 2 has been continued to October 14th in committee and October 29th in council. Item 3 is the one that's continued to July 15th and July 23rd in council. And item number 3B is also continued to July 15th and July 23rd in council.
Okay, thank you. What we will do is we have one speaker card on item number 1. The recommendation that I make on that item is simply a recommendation to the full council when that gets there. It's a recommendation from the Vice Chair, and it would have a full public hearing at that time. Items number 2, 3A and 3B will be continued. However, item number 3, we have several cards. I will be, if those of you who submitted cards would like to testify today, you are free to do so. And I do believe they'll have an opportunity in council to testify. Is that correct? No, I mean at the next meeting. Because there is no quorum, there will be an opportunity for a full public hearing on the 23rd. At that time, you will have an opportunity to testify again. I'll call your name. You could either testify today or at the next hearing. Yeah, well, let me just go back because I was already set with the script. We had a lot of changes before committee. Because the item was continued to the July 15th date, that's, if we have a quorum, then they will have an opportunity to have the public hearing in committee. If there is no quorum on the 15th, then there will be a public hearing in council. Okay. In any event, on item 3A and 3B, if you would like to testify today, that we'll take in that testimony. Items number 4 and 5 on consent. Okay, so we could go to item... I think we have a public speaking card on number 5, and there are reports, they're weekly reports. Oh, we do have a public speaking card on 5. Okay. You are correct, so we'll take 4 on consent. 4 is the Director of Planning. I don't believe the Director is here today to make a report. It's a weekly status report by the Director, and there is no report for that. There is no report. We'll just take the item and listen to the public comment. Okay, for number 5. For number 5, okay. Yes. That's Mr. McQuiston, I think you're here for number 5? Number 4. Number 4? Okay, you want to... Number 4. Okay, you want to come up? Number 4 is no report. Oh. But you're here on number 5, right? Okay. Mr. McQuiston's here for a public comment. Okay. Item number 5.
Sure. Councilman, item 5 is the weekly status report on condo conversions, and there's a speaker's card.
Thank you. There's 2 speaker's cards, actually.
Okay.
Item number 5, Mr. McQuiston.
Yeah, Jim McQuiston. I entered this attachment, which you all got, because I thought it was quite an interesting lawsuit that's coming up. But it does actually affect what they're doing in these conversion efforts. And I thought the committee should be aware, because sometimes the city council doesn't get informed about these lawsuits until they're practically over. It seems to have some merit to it. Evidently, the mayor hasn't done his job. And the problem is, how do you get the mayor to do his job? And with our new charter, the way you get the mayor to do his job is somebody's got to file a lawsuit, because the city council can't really force the mayor to do anything. And so this is something which we hope the city council can support as well to get the mayor to get these reports out on time, rather than evidently he's still working on 1996, which is a little bit too late. If you don't have the reports, you're not supposed to be able to rezone or to do anything like that. So if we don't get these reports, we kind of get hung up. The way to get these reports really fast is to tell him, hey, we're not going to approve anything until you get these reports out. And since he really wants the development to go through, then he's going to get the reports out a little faster. It's kind of tough love.
Thank you, Mr. McQuiston. John Walsh?
Actually, I took a day off from work to come here to testify at the City Council on the issue of the high-rise across the street from me at Capitol Records and the destruction of the sound environment for their historic recording studio. But, of course, they postponed it to Friday, so I lost $190, which is what I get paid per day by the LAUSD. In any case, we're always interested in how many conversions and demolitions. We're very interested in when you're going to pull a demolition permit on Grandma Gomez's home, which is on Gower, just north of Hollywood Boulevard. You've been holding her hostage now for about 3 years. They're going to tear down a perfectly good building, rehabbed by the church there, with 24 units. They're going to tear the entire building down. Only three tenants in the building to build homeless housing. They couldn't find any other place in the city of Los Angeles, 4 million people, except homeless housing, tearing down the units. Because we've talked to city news, rather to CNN and to a number of national news. And when you carry Miss Gomez out, and we've been talking to her she's 70, she was 78, she's 81 now, and her son out, we're going to have all the media there. And then you can get up there and say, the mayor can say, but we're only tearing this down because we want homeless people to be able to move in. You know, incidentally, a lot of what's going on here is removing Hispanics from Hollywood. Not because they're Hispanic, just because they're poor. The whites were removed. I remember when I moved in here, we had all these Appalachian people in the 70s. They're gone, and now the people that replace them have to be removed so we can gentrify. And this is what this committee does. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Walsh. Thank you. At this point, we could go to the first item on the agenda.
Yes, Councilman. The first item is a report from the Planning Department. It's an ordinance relative to a zone change in CD4 for the construction of a mixed-use project. And the planning staff is present.
Good afternoon,
Good afternoon.
council members. My name is Kevin Jones. I was a hearing officer for this case. This went to the Planning Commission back on March 13th, 2008. The zone change that is before you involves a lot that's 74,836 square feet, and in its place will be a 194,000 square foot structure of 8 stories and 91 feet with 76,500 square feet of retail commercial space. The zone change is from R4-1 and R2-1 to RAS 4-1. The project will provide 187 dwelling units and 581 parking spaces. The project was not controversial at all. It had very minimal public input from the project. It was one of the first projects that went through a design revision as it went through the urban design studio of the planning department, and the commission wholeheartedly supported the revisions that are presented to you as part of this ordinance. It went very smoothly. There wasn't any controversy. There was some concern about alcohol use, but that has been minimized and now is only permitted for, or the request is only for the alcohol sales as part of the existing market, and that has been continued. I'll step aside and allow any other questions that you may have, and if you want to hear from the applicant. Okay?
Great. Thank you very much. Kevin McDonald. Mr. McDonald, you're here on behalf of the applicant?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you.
For the record, Kevin McDonald of the law firm Jeffer, Mangles, Butler, and Marmoro, representing the applicant, HK Town. We have some renderings here that we just want to display for you that show the design resulting from the input of the Urban Design Studio of the City Planning Department, which we were requested to consult with after our first hearing with the City Planning Commission. We're proud of the changes that were made here. We think it's going to be just a invaluable asset to the area. Right now, as staff has mentioned to you, you've got an existing single-story market building sitting on this lot with the 60s style surface parking lot. This is going to replace that by putting multi-level parking above the ground with the market in the basement and multi-level dwelling units above the parking level. So it's a great improvement, and as staff mentioned to you, we didn't have any opposition, no negative input from the neighborhood. We do have people here from the neighborhood that support this project. So we urge that you adopt and recommend approval of the City Planning Commission report that's before you. With one small housekeeping item, we addressed a letter to this committee dated yesterday, July 7th, calling your attention to page T1 of the conditions of approval, the tentative conditions of approval. Items 2A through G, A through F, are very specific street dedication and improvement requirements that were negotiated to this level of detail through the course of the process. They're very specific and would affect the design of the building in many different ways if they were altered at all. We have had some experience recently with the Department of Transportation and the Bureau of Engineering about when it comes time to get the permit that they sometimes want to adjust these. So we would ask that you would adopt an additional condition, subcondition 2G, that, as we have spelled out in the letter before you, except as set forth in condition 2A through F, which are those specific improvements and dedications, the Bureau of Engineering, City Engineer, and Department of Transportation shall not require any additional street dedications or improvements of Western Avenue, Oxford Avenue, or First Street, as would be otherwise required by city street standards pursuant to LA Municipal Code Section 12.37.
Thank you very much. And have you had a chance to look at this recommendation? I'm sorry, if you could state your name again.
Kevin Jones, the Planning Department. We have had a chance to review the conditions as proposed by the applicant, and those are acceptable to the Planning Department as it reinforces the conditions that were approved by the Planning Commission and should be considered as part of your instructions in the T conditions.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And council member, just before you make your decision, let the record reflect that the changes to TQ are RAS4-1 as opposed to RAS4-1. It's TQ.
Great, thank you. We have another speaker, Reverend Dr. Charles Robertson, Jr. Welcome.
Greetings. I'm Pastor Charles Robertson of Wilshire Presbyterian Church, but I'm here representing the Wilshire Center Koreatown Alcohol Abatement Coalition. Two of our partners in the coalition that participated in discussions with the developers are the Beverly Kingsley Neighborhood Association and the South St. Andrews Square Neighborhood Association that are on either side of Western where this complex is located. As Mr. Jones indicated, there was some community concern when it was announced that this was in the works, and our coalition was concerned about the CUBs and the alcohol license conditions, and the developer was very accommodating. He met with us. He was willing to take our concerns into consideration. Our concerns are reflected in the proposal for approval before you. I want to commend the developers for their working with the community in what I would say was a very outgoing and generous way, not reluctantly at all. I also want to thank Councilman Labange's staff person, Renee Weitzer, for her assistance in these discussions as well. You've seen the pictures. It's a shame they didn't bring a picture of the present supermarket, because the contrast is significant, and the neighborhood, while we were specifically concerned about the alcohol sales, we live in the neighborhood, and we've got to drive by or walk to this place to shop during the week, and a 60s structure that has been maintained, but I would say not well maintained, is in great contrast to what they're proposing to put up there, which we think would be a great asset to our community. Therefore, we support it fully.
Great, thank you very much. CD4, anyone here from CD4?
Renee Weitzer, representing Councilman Tom Lamange. We are in full support. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you very much. It will be the action as a recommendation from the Vice Chair of this committee to the full council that we adopt this item with the proposed recommendations in the applicant's letter dated July 7th. Thank you very much. Thank you. Next item.
That would be public comment, Council.
Well, items 3, and are we going to do...
3A and 3B, yes.
Yeah, 3A and 3B.
We are on 3A and 3B. Again,
Items 3A and 3B are appeals relative to the CPC's decision on exception from the Hollywood Signage Supplemental Use District for property located at 1512 through 1540 North Gorton Street. And 3B are relative to general plan amendments and zone change for the same project.
thank you very much. And again, you will have another opportunity, or you will have an opportunity to testify on this item when the item gets fully heard in committee again. However, I know some of you have traveled to be here today, and perhaps you may want to provide your testimony in order for the department and all other interested parties to hear. So with that, I'll go down the speakers' cards. If you do not wish to speak, let me know, or you could also leave if you like, and I will not call you up. If you're here, you could come up and give your testimony. Miguel Flores.
Good afternoon, Councilmember Weezer. Jamie Miguel Flores of the Silverstein Law Firm, representing the La Mirada Neighborhood Association of Hollywood. We would like to postpone our comments to the next hearing with the understanding there will be a public hearing and that we will be allowed to provide further comments and objections.
Sure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Milano K.
Thank you. Yes, my name is Milano Kay. I'm a resident in the Hollywood Hills, the Hollywood Heights community, and I am strongly opposed to this super graphic, the permission of lessening the standard that we hold for super graphic and against permitting a particular billboard that I think you're familiar with at the corner of Hollywood Boulevard and Vine. I stand against it because I do not feel our community is getting anything in exchange for giving permission, for lessening a standard, and so I'm opposed to that. I'll explain that more carefully next time, but I wanted to introduce the idea here if I could, and if anyone was interested, I have a rather short, I hope one-page description of it, and I'd be glad to give it to you. I will be here next time to present more thoroughly, though.
Great, thank you very much.
Anyone
Mr.
interested?
Jane. Yes, if you could...
I've given out a few, but anybody particular person?
Yeah, right there. Thank you very much. Doug Haynes. Okay, thank you. Ziggy Cross. John Walsh.
Yeah, I'm representing the Flatlands in that area, the Hollywood Village Neighborhood Group at Yucca, Franklin, Gower, Argyle. As bad as this project is, at least they're asking permission. At least they're going through the... I hope you saw the story in the Daily News. The Times would not do any story about front page, bandit super graphics, bandit billboards. Hollywood is covered with illegal billboards. You even have a billboard, and I want this on record, a billboard for W Hotel on the construction crane. at the W Hotel. It's red and it's reflecting on the crane. It is a danger to helicopters because red reflectors are supposed to be at the tips of the crane. This is in the middle of the crane. Can you imagine advertising on a crane? What comes next? Advertising on wild dogs? Go at the Hollywood Capitol Records, where it says Capitol Records on top right now. There's bandit signage. It says Coldplay. Go to the station, Hollywood and Vine Station. Bandit signage for a wine. I've seen them arrive when I go to work at 6:30. Unmarked trucks, they put up the bandit signage, and they collect $35,000 a month on bandit signage for one sign. It's all over the city, except where the wealthy white people live. West of La Brea, you see no bandit signage. East of La Brea, and I met a friend who was Hispanic in the 70s. He said it used to be Main Street. Main Street was on east of Main Street was where the Hispanics were kept. West of Main was for the white. The only thing that's changed in the last 50 years is that the dividing line is now on La Brea. And the signage and the illegal signage is all on our side, and people are making millions off it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Walsh. John Bunk?
Good afternoon, council members. My name is John Vonk, and I own Alley Cat Studios, a sound studio approximately 300 feet from the proposed development. Our studio, has been constant operation since 1931, and my wife and I have owned the building and the business for the past 20 years. We have recently persevered through the past 4-year construction of the new Technicolor building, which adjoins our property on the Sunset Gower lot. Now we find the City of Los Angeles is about to approve a mega development that will allow a parking variance that will negatively affect my business. Our 20-year experience with neighborhood parking issues proves the surrounding area's past parking capacity. Although the developers of the new Technicolor building assured us their construction vehicles would not use adjacent street parking, frequently all available street parking was monopolized by construction crews. This proposed Sunset Gower development is petitioning for an excessive parking variance. 300 housing units, 100,000 square feet of commercial, 13,000 square feet of restaurants and retail. This will have serious impact on parking availability on our surrounding neighborhood. My wife and I operate a sound studio and scoring stage where we have celebrity clients as well as your more traditional entertainment clients. We believe that the Hollywood Redevelopment Association is bound to support entertainment businesses in the Hollywood area, and all this incredible development is forcing a mom and a pop organization we've been working for 20 years, but our business is for 70 years, and we feel like we're getting forced out. I'm not opposed to this development, and we're currently trying to work with them to work some of our parking issues out, but currently that has not been the case. I just want the council to do due diligence on the park. There's other issues. We operate a sound studio. They make a lot of noise. A couple of our clients during the building of the Technicolor building adjacent to us threatened to sue us because of the noise by the adjacent building. We can't do sound recording while noise is being made.
Great, thank you very much.
Was that my closing button? Please do due diligence to the parking variance.
Thank you very much. Craig Lawson?
Councilman, I'm going to hold my comments until the meeting next week.
Great, thank you very much, Mr. Lawson. Michael Woodward?
Like Craig, I'll hold my comments to the next hearing.
I have a question for you. DLA, is that a last name or is that an abbreviation for something?
I'm not sure what the name is, but it's the name of the United Kingdom group that formed with Piper Rudnick, that formed with Gray Carey. And so over the last couple of years, they wound up with shortening the name to DLA, which is was in Europe and other parts of the world, and then Piper. So that's where we're left.
Okay, thank you. I've seen the name.
I'm not sure where
that came from. Thank you very much. That concludes our public speakers on that item. Again, we are continuing this item to
July 15th in committee.
In committee.
And in council to July 23rd.
Great, thank you very much. I believe that leaves us with public comment. Is that correct? We have one speaker card on public comment. John Walsh?
Don't worry, I won't be here every week. I got a job. I'd like to thank the LAPD and the police officers. They do an excellent job here. I realize you have to deal with certain public speakers who are absolutely schizophrenic downstairs, but they keep, not all people who are against the government are schizophrenics, okay, who question the government, but they do a good job of getting those cards up there. I went to LAUSD once and handed something to a police, their security, and said, would you give that to the chairman of the LAUSD school board, my employer? I said, would you hand it to her or a deputy? I said, that's against the rules. You got to go upstairs to floor 11 and I couldn't believe it. Here, if you want to give something to a city council member, you just hand it to a police officer and it's put on the deputy's desk. Believe me, if you want to see things run fascist style, a meeting run fascist style, come to the LAUSD school board meeting, my employer. And believe me, I give them as much hell over there occasionally as I give it over here. We'd like to thank you and point out on Sunset Boulevard, there never were any red cars. There never were any street cars on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood because of the noise. 50, 60, 70 years ago, when that was still had studios, they prevailed on the city council to keep any kind of rail or any kind of vibration off Hollywood, off Sunset Boulevard. But in any case, someday we'll see, there never will be enough development in Hollywood. What was going to destroy development in Hollywood is the coming worldwide market collapse. That's the only thing that's going to stop development in Hollywood.
Thank you very much, and I believe that concludes our meeting. Thank you all.
Meeting's adjourned.